Hello Year 5, it's Mrs Gallagher, and today we are going to start a brand new piece based on the artist which we've been looking at for our Into the Rainforest project, Henri Rosseau. And today I'm going to show you some images of Henri Rosseau's work and show you how he uses the foreground in his work to add layers and depth. So before I show you what I mean by how he uses foreground, I thought maybe we could discuss what foreground is. So if you haven't already heard of foreground, it is the opposite to the background. So the foreground in a piece is the area which looks the closest and nearest to you. So I'll just show you some examples of that in his work. So on this piece here, the foreground is the leaves at the front. So we've got the snake plant, we've got some leaves. So it's that very first layer that you can see on that piece. On this piece here, again, those first quarter where you've got the leaves before all of the animals. And it's the same in all of his pieces. It's a technique that he uses to kind of draw your attention further into the piece. Again, you can see that there are leaves used in the foreground on this piece here. His general rule is that the leaves and the plants and the flowers are in the foreground of his work. Then he adds some animals and other details into the midground. And in the background, he adds further plants. So it's made up of 3 sections. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of lessons. And over the series of lessons, we are going to make our own Henri Rosseau piece using your own composition. And it will have the foreground, which is the first part, the part closest to you. It's going to have the middle ground, and then we are going to also add the background. So we're going to have a full piece, which will look really impressive. Before we get started, I just wanted to talk to you about the size of your paper that we're going to use. So this is going to be completed over 3 lessons, possibly 4. So it's going to be a final piece. And we want it to be really impressive. And to get all of the detail in that we need to work on a slightly larger scale than usual. So this piece of paper that I have got here is an A3 piece of paper. I'm aware that most of you might not have A3 pieces of paper at home because you're using maybe printer paper to do your artwork on. So what we're going to do, so this is 2 pieces of A4 paper out of the printer. You are going to, before you start the lesson, so just pause the video and get 2 pieces of paper. You're going to line them up. Okay, so my paper is, can you see? So it's portrait, and we're going to line them up, and we're going to sellotape down that seam in the middle, which will leave you with one big horizontal, so that means it's wider than it is tall, piece of paper ready to do your work on. So I'll just recap that quickly. 2 pieces of paper, put them portrait, overlap them slightly and sellotape down the middle. Okay, if you've got, I'm just going to carry on with this piece here, but it does not matter whether you have A3 or 2 A4s, as long as you've got a large piece of paper, that will be great. And then we need a nice sharp pencil. I'm going to press quite hard today, just so that you can really see what I'm doing. As I always say, every lesson, I want you to press as light as possible. And we're ready to get started. So this is my piece of paper. If I was to look for the middle of the piece of paper, so halfway, okay, that is about there. I want the foreground to come up just below halfway. So I've just done a guide on that side and a guide on that side, okay? And I might just do one roughly in the middle. So I've got a bit of a guideline. Don't worry if some of them go slightly over or slightly under. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to draw some of the plants and flowers that you can add in your foreground section. And then I'm going to let you add as many, so you can repeat them wherever you wish in the foreground, so at the bottom. You might decide to attempt some of the plants and flowers that you've practiced in previous lessons. So you don't have to follow mine. Just use what I'm demonstrating as a guide. You might decide to arrange them slightly different. So we're going to get started. And the first one that we're going to do is we're going to do the flower that we were colouring on the Henri Rosseau piece last lesson. These ones here. Now, usually flowers will be grouped in 3 or 5. Artists like to work in odd numbers. I'm going to go for just the one. Obviously, you can put this anywhere you like on the bottom of your page. So to start off with, I'm going to draw a stem. And I'm going to start off with it wider at the bottom. And then I'm going to go slightly smaller as I get to the top. Henri Rosseau studied botanicals and plants in detail, but then he simplifies them and exaggerates them in areas, which really makes his work unique. So once we've got the stem, we're going to draw the flower, and we're going to start off here, and we are going to go down and up. So almost like a little bowl shape. We're going to go to the front and we're going to go up and down. Okay, so now we've got a bit of an eye shape. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So down and up, and then we're going to take it back to the middle. So we're going to go up and down. Once we've done that basic shape, we're going to do the pollen on the inside of the flower. And to do that, all you need to do is a really small arch curve like so. And then we're going to add the other petals in. So I'm going to go for 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've just done little lines, and those little lines are going to be the points on the end of my petals. So I'm going to start off on this point, and I'm going to go in a curved line. And then I'm going to do a curved line the other way, bringing it to the pollen. Again, I'm going to start the curved line, but you'll notice that this is overlapped. That's absolutely fine. Go with it. Another curved line this side. Curved lines. Those curved lines are important. Don't do your petals with straight lines. And there we have a flower. Really easy. If you would like to add any leaves onto the flowers, you just do a little dash, and then we use a heart shape. It's the shape that Henri Rosseau does on the flowers, like so. So we've got a flower there, and you could do that in series of 3. You could do it in series of 5. You could also add a bulb. So what a bulb is, it's an unopened flower. So we just do almost 1 petal, and then we do 2 leaves around the outside like so. I think I'm going to add some more leaves. The more leaves that you add, the more foreground that you're going to cover, which is what we're after. So just make a heart shape around. You might decide to do the next flower a lot taller. You might have it curved. All of the same rules apply. So curved line, back to the middle, curved line, middle bit, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm just going to add those. Okay, so up to you if you wanted to have groups of flowers there, if you want to have 5, if you want to have leaves, but that's how we draw the basic flower. Then I'll just zoom in a little bit. I just realised I can't zoom in, sorry. The next one I'm going to go for is we're going to go for a snake plant. Now a snake plant is what you've done last week as well. So with this spiky plant here. And we're going to start off, so they're long and they are sharp at the end. So we're going to go straight up, a little bit of a curve. And then we're going to go back down. I'm going to go wider as we get to the bottom. Okay, this time we're going to have it overlapping. We're going to go straight up, going to curve that way slightly, go wider at the bottom. Okay, now a snake plant, as long as you group it all together, it can have as many spikes as you wish. So it's actually a really good one to fill a large surface area for the foreground, which is why Henri Rosseau uses it in a lot of his pieces. And I'm going to have a small one there. So that's our main body. So wider at the bottom, narrower at the top. It ends in a point. And then all we need to do to get that snake detail pattern is we need to do the same again in the middle of each one. Because the classic snake plant, can you see? It's got that green middle and then the yellow outer. So we just need to draw where we're going to have that green and where the yellow is going to start. I actually think that snake plants look a lot like fire before you add any of the colour. So you think it looks a little bit like fire, and you're probably doing perfect. And because this piece is completely up to you how you compose it, so what I mean by how you lay it out. If you don't get any of the foreground finished in today's lesson, you can actually work on it if you want over the half term, just to get that foreground really full. So none of the middle or background, but you could work into the foreground. You might decide to have snake plant there, up to you. But I'm going to show you next how to add some of the other leaves that are used in Henri Rosseau's work. Don't think you can't add anything behind the ones that you have done, by the way. So if there's a flower, for example, and you wanted it to just poke a little bit behind the area that we've just done, you can do. So just really fill it up. The ground in rainforests are very, very full, okay? Think about the weather conditions. They're perfect to make things grow really rapidly. So don't be scared to add lots of detail on this part. I'm just going to add a bud as well. Okay, right. The next one that we're going to do is a bit like a palm leaf. So that is this type of one here. So we've got a long stem. It can be a bit wavy with really thin leaves. So I'm going to draw a line up here. And then all we do is we add, you know, like what we did with the first one. A little bit like a mix of the two. So that's the top leaf. We're just going to make the stem go a little bit wider. And then I'm just going to go down one side. So I'm going to go, keep them nice and thin and keep them long. And you'll notice mine are getting a slight bit bigger as they get to the bottom. Okay, once you've done that side, we're going to mirror it on the other side. So if you start at the same points on the other side. Now I'm going to have to go behind this snake plant. That's fine. I think it looks a lot better if you have some layering going on. A little bit more difficult, but it definitely looks more effective. Okay, that's another leaf. And then I'm just going to finish by showing you one more type of leaf, and then I'm going to let you go and get started and create your own foregrounds. The last leaf that I'm going to show you is we're going to do a stem all the way to the top. Again, we're going to do it wider at the bottom, going narrower. And it is, let's see if I can find it on here, these leaves here, so they're kind of like a little bit bumpy, but really easy to do. So so the top is gonna be its own leaf, and we're gonna add, so we're gonna curve this side and curve that side. So a little bit like, you know how you can draw birds sometimes in skies, or the top part of a heart. Gonna go like that, and then we're just gonna do a bumpy edge, and we're gonna get it to end on a point. And then you simply just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to pick where they come off. So if you just draw yourself some stems coming off that main stem, like so. And I'll show you it again. Leave a little gap. We're going to go like that. We're going to go wavy, wavy, and I'm going to turn that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So curved, a little bit wiggly, point down, wiggle, 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 point down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm getting bigger as I go down, okay? Which is what you'll find as well. Wiggle down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Some of these points are a little bit too upright. They need to be a bit more like that. Wiggle line. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then we're going to this side. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you probably get the idea by now. So you'll notice I've done my middle stems a little bit too pointy there and there. They need to point down slightly. So don't be scared to just alter them if you need to. And then the last one, but you get the idea. Now, think about the ones where you've got the leaves. Now, they could have 1 or 2 all crowded together. So there could be a group of these plants, because normally the way that the growing occurs, when the seeds are planted, there'll be a scatter of a few in the same area. So you could have one there. You could have the beginning of another one there. And don't forget to try and change the height of the plants and flowers in the foreground, just to make it that little bit more interesting. Keep it just under halfway, but you can have that height a little bit alternating as you go across from one side to the other. All you need to do today is the foreground, and I only want you to use pencil, so please do not add colour, and please do not add any more details further up in the middle or background until I do my next tutorial. Feel free to finish the foreground over half term as a pencil outline, but with no colour applied. I look forward to seeing your own Henri Rosseau pieces, and have a lovely half term. I will see you all when we get back. Thank you.